We're gonna have a rock and roll party tonight. Here we go.
Greetings and welcome to Old Drunken Discography. This week's panel is the usual suspects. Tim.
That'd be me. Suspect number 1.
Bill.
Suspect number 4.
And Jason, suspect number 7. Each week, one of us selects an artist to bring to the panel for everyone to listen, discuss, and rank the studio albums. This week, it's my pick, and I choose you, Propagandhi. I've heard it both ways. So yeah, brief history with the band. Who wants to start this off?
I can start because mine's really brief. Once again, we're at one haven't heard of. I got to listen to them. And I got notes. I got a couple questions, but that's okay.
I told you had to read some books.
I'll say this also. I wish I had maybe a little bit more time.
All right, what about you, Tim?
A little more extensive than that, but not by much. I've known about them since probably the late 90s. Through various punk rock compilations and mixtapes over the years. But they were never a band I really checked out. So this was a new discography for me as well.
All right. Mine is pretty simple and pretty standard. I think most people had a Fat Music for Fat People. Opening track of How to Clean Everything is the opening track of this compilation. Plus, Homophobes Are Just Pissed Because They Can't Get Laid is on there as well. Both those songs were great. Bought How to Clean Everything and just bought them all. I'm a day one buyer up from today's Empires to now.
Cool.
So, I like Propagandhi. Which is why I made you guys listen to them. So, How to Clean Everything. I know this band is not going to be for everyone. They should be, but they're not. So, I welcome any challenges you guys may have had with Propagandhi. I'm curious, what you guys think of How to Clean Everything?
I liked it. I thought it was pretty good, especially for 1993. I think it's pretty ahead of its time. I think, without jumping too far ahead, I think this one suffered the most from sounding like a Fat Records band. They're a little, their formula hasn't quite formulated yet, so it sounds like they're still kind of sounding their voice, but I like it. It's a really good fast punk rock album. There's a lot of great lyrical stuff going on. Musically, there's some pretty interesting stuff. The Haile Selassie Up Your Ass song I thought was interesting because we're attacking Rastafari, but we're also trying to play a reggae song. It's the irony there is top notch. It's pretty good.
I mean, the same for Ska Sucks.
Yeah,
They're
exactly.
Ska.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I thought it was a pretty good album. I think, especially for 93 punk rock, it's really good. And I think for a debut album, it's pretty strong. It's just a fun time.
What about you, Bill?
All right. Let's see here. Where do I start? I'll start at the beginning here. Anti-manifesto. I love the lyrics, but I feel like they were forcing the beat with words at times a little bit. It's like, okay, I want to say this big phrase, but I only have 3 beats to do it, so I'm going to quickly staccato it and shove it in there, and we're going to call it a day. Otherwise, pretty good opener. Head, chest, or foot, just like Just Mass Delusion, doing. Oh gosh, whatever I quote. The quote that I have, which is from the chorus, "Goddamn" is a great quote, and I can't read it, and it's unfortunate.
Man, you start
Um,
typing your shit.
I really do. But goddamn, I love that quote. Uh, hate, myth, muscle, etiquette. I'm not a fan of the verses because they were almost too dynamic. Just because he had the. See, if I remember this one, it was where it was he sang, but then spoke quickly, and then sang again, and then spoke, and he kind of like alternated it. And I mean, I'm always a fan of what's a little bit more dynamic in the songs, but I feel like that one was maybe slightly too dynamic, relatively speaking. Um, I could definitely be an oddball in my thinking on that one, though.
Yeah, I don't think I've ever thought of too much dynamics being a bad thing.
I guess it was just how it went from like singing to speaking throughout this, listening to the discography, kind of caught me a little off guard. There were times I thought it worked really well. This one, I didn't think it worked as well for that song. Showdown for me sounded like a high school jam session, and the singer was just voicing their concerns and issues about everything, which was more than fine. Lyrics loved it, felt it was a little raw, which is definitely okay. But just kind of felt like they were all just kind of sitting jamming together, which is interesting. Ska Sucks, for me, that was a top song contender. Yeah, fuck you, Rudy. Um, Definitely caught the irony there of the being a more ska type song, but at the same time, like it actually worked. So who knows? Middle finger response. It hit the ground running, but I couldn't gain my composure until I got to verse 3 and figure out what the hell was going on. Which happened a couple other times. This discography, I'll be honest, and that was even with having the lyrics open while listening to it.
Yeah,
Uh,
that's punk.
yeah, it was all
Sometimes
right
they do
compared to
that.
some of the other ones. Stick the fucking flag up your goddamn ass, you son of a bitch. Holy fuck, hell yeah. Great song. Love everything about it. The ending lost me a little bit to an extent, but still a good fucking song. Um, I'm not sure why I have it written as a different song title here. So for Haley Salas, holy shit, a lot to unpack in this song, especially nowadays given everything that's going on. Like, I'm gonna need more time with that one, just to unpack it a bit more. That being said, it was definitely a good one. Uh, my note was I listened to a re-release of that one, which if I remember right, that one ended with the no religion or fuck religion, right?
Yeah.
And then the re-release ended with so it was still fuck religion, but then it was at the end was fuck new atheism at the end as well. And like reading some notes about that was just because his comment was like, well, we had this point and then it got taken the wrong way, so we kind of said that's not what the point was of the whole fuck religion was the new atheism, so we wanted to be back on this standpoint, which for me was more than all right, because that's not wishy-washy. That's like, no, this is what we meant, we're standing by it, and I respect the hell out of that. I really do. um Fuck machine, see above comments, and tie to this might be satire, because that is a 1-2 punch. If you look at those songs individually, it's not the same. Um, Still a lot to unpack between the two of those in a lot of extent.
Yeah.
That being said, I mean, it's definitely relevant today, 30 years later. Now this is where Okay, so will you help me break the spread? So this one I listened to in order. Compared to the rest of the album, for me, that one was a little bit more generic with the lyrics. A little bit not as. I mean, I don't want to say targeted because it's not like he's. I mean, he's targeting, but he's not targeting different issues. Like, but it's a little more like just
He's addressing them, though.
yeah, he's addressing them. But this was like, yeah, just be with me. And who's gonna be when we're not there? Well, someone's got to be there. Like it's more the generic side, which if it was anyone else, any other album, but this one would definitely be a standout. But compared to the rest of it, I want to say it's filler, but it's just kind of existing compared to everything else on this album.
Yeah.
So then let's see here. So
My notes just say fucking rips.
So I'll do.
Why not both?
Let's see. I'll do my notes for. I want you to want me. Not the biggest fan of the cover. It happened.
I do really like when it turns into a song about bacon.
Megan, she don't eat bacon. She's one of those sweet loving. So good.
Yeah, that's when it got when I was sold.
Yeah. But like the cover part, it was like it happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
That's one of those songs that, like, if you're in a punk rock band, you just learn.
Yeah, I think they changed it up enough to make it. I throw it on a punk covers album.
Sure. Yeah.
So let's see here. So then the 3 bonus tracks, I'll just say my notes on those just because when I listened to it, it was out of order just because I Want You to Want Me ended up at the end here.
Yeah, that's the reissue, I think.
Yeah. So Pigs Will Pay. It was similar to Will You Help Me Break This Bread, just from like the same. It was a little bit generic at times and less specific relative to the rest of the album, but it was still a good song. Homophobes. Homophobes just pissed because they can't get laid. God damn, this song happened. Great song. And then my question with Leg Hold Trap for Jason. Was this a different singer that was going on just because it sounded different vocally compared to their songs?
Yeah, that's at this point the lineup was Chris on guitar, Jord on drums, and John K. Sampson on bass. And John sings what song was it? Showdown. Like he sings half of that song too.
Yep.
But Leg Hold Trap was like just him singing. And the next album has a few just John singing songs.
Yep, I got notes on a couple of those as well. It's interesting to hear another voice predominant because usually when someone else in a band sings, usually it's more of like a background or just a quick hitter, not just here's this song.
I mean, we'll get into it when we get into the Todd thing, but like he went on. Honestly, both these bands went on to do better things separately. I think. Like
okay.
The Weaker Thans. We're going to cover the Weaker Thans discography. I don't know if Tim's going to like it, but lyrically, John is a fucking genius.
So looking forward to it.
So that's all of my notes I had for this album.
All right. I'll run through my notes. How to Clean is probably a top 10, if not a top 5 Fat Wreck album for me. It's damn near perfect. It checks off every tick for what a Fat album was in the 90s, which Tim kind of mentioned. Like, that is a kind of a strike against it nowadays. But Anti-Manifesto.
But it was doing it 10 years before everybody else, too.
Yeah, this is early Fat. Like,
yeah,
Lagwagon. I mean, they're on the first Fat Music comp. The opening lines of this discography is dance and laugh and play, ignore the message we convey. It seems we're only here to entertain. That's a 6 out of 5 rating. That's how you open an album. literally sums up their entire discography. As I said, this is my first Propagandhi song. It's one hell of an opener. The last time my old ass moshed was when they played this one live, and me and Dork Joe were there. I was too old for that shit then. Way too old for it now. And I still crack a smile at the, by the way I stole this riff line. Like, that shit's funny. Head Chesterfoot's great. I'd rather be in prison in a George Orwellian world than your pacified society of happy boys and girls. It's probably even more relatable today. Hate, myth, muscle. We all need a kick in the ass. It's so damn good. Yep. Showdown. John kind of stands out on this. Like, his bass is really fucking good. It's an interesting song. It's like two songwriters coming from two different places, and it turns out working perfectly. I fucking love the Weaker Thans, and we'll get to them on this show. We've talked about dual harmonies a few times with Mark and Tom, and Nina and Louise. I think Chris and John's voices work really well for a different reason, because it's so contrasting. Ska sucks. I don't mind ska. I actually like some ska, but this song lives rent-free in my head. It's so good. Middle finger response, the vocal melodies, the harmonization. For 93 Fat, this is some top tier shit. Stick the fucking flag, another top song contender. Sure, it's not as witty or as poetic as some later Propagandhi, but it gets the job done nicely. I mean, we were talking about Feed the Machine last week. Up Your Ass, it kind of stands out in the entire discography. There's nothing that sounds like it. Top song contender, because again, the lyrics live rent free in my head. Fuck Machine is so good. This Might Be Satire. Okay, Nickelback. Okay, Chad. This is how you write an ironic song. No one questioned the intent or the meaning behind this one. Who Will Make This Bread fucking rips. And I Want You to Want Me. Not the best closing track, but it's a damn good cover. And the hidden fucks at the end they were special back in the day on CD. The B-sides are all great. I mean, fucking Pigs Will Fly, or Pigs Will Pay. Homophobes Are Just Pissed was my second Propagandhi song that I heard back in the day. Still a top song contender. Leg Hold Trap. It's a good John song, but like he hadn't got the vocals down yet. Like, he's still working on it, but still a good song. I fucking love this album. So that's all you need. All right. We don't have to rank this one. It's automatically number one because it's hashtag first album bias. Or it's the only one we talked about.
But also hashtag will it stand?
Will it stand up against Less Talk, More Rock? Find out on the next episode of Old Drunken Discography. Be safe. Make good decisions.
Dance and laugh and play like another message we convey. It seems we're only here to entertain.